Have you ever felt like you were talking to a brick wall, like your feelings, your successes, or even simple requests just bounce right off the other person without landing? If that sounds familiar, this video is for you. Today, we're not going to get bogged down in complicated psychological jargon. Instead, I'm going to give you 3 simple yet incredibly powerful tests. These are essentially litmus papers that no true narcissist can pass. Watch until the end, and you will unlock the key to understanding who is truly standing next to you. I promise you, the results of this simple experiment might shock you. Before we dive in, let's quickly clarify who exactly we are talking about. Narcissism is far more than just selfishness or high self-esteem. It is a deep personality disorder rooted in a complete lack of empathy, a grandiose sense of self-importance, and a desperate need for constant admiration. A narcissist doesn't see other people as individuals. They see them as tools to achieve their goals, as mirrors meant only to reflect their greatness. They can be charming, charismatic, and successful, but underneath that mask, there is nothing but emptiness and coldness. And our 3 tests are designed specifically to look past that mask and reveal the true face underneath. So the first, and arguably the most revealing test, is the sincere apology test. Sounds simple, right? But for a narcissist, it's almost an impossible mission. The thing is, their fragile ego is built entirely on the illusion of their own infallibility. To admit fault is essentially psychological death for them. It means acknowledging they aren't perfect, and that is simply unthinkable within their worldview. That's why when you confront a narcissist with a genuine transgression, you will never hear a simple, clear, "I'm sorry, I was wrong." Instead, what you'll get is a full-blown performance. This test exposes their utter inability to take responsibility, which is fundamentally a core personality defect. Let's break down what a narcissistic fake apology actually sounds like. The most popular form is the apology that immediately pivots the blame back onto you. Classic lines include, "I'm sorry you took it that way," or "I apologize that you're just so sensitive." That's the textbook definition. Notice the key difference. They are not apologizing for their behavior, but for your resulting reaction. In doing this, they not only evade accountability, but they also manage to guilt-trip you for the emotions they caused. Another common variation is minimization. This includes lines like, "Relax, I was just joking," or "You're making a mountain out of a molehill." They are completely invalidating your feelings and the seriousness of the transgression, proving that your pain is meaningless to them. This isn't an apology, it is pure, unadulterated manipulation. To run this test, choose a situation where the narcissist's mistake is absolutely undeniable. It must be an objective, concrete fact, not something subjective. For example, they were late for a critical appointment, forgot a date highly significant to you, or failed to deliver on a direct promise. Calmly and without being accusatory, point out this fact and explain the consequences it had for you. Say something like, "I was really disappointed when you didn't show up on time. I was counting on you." After that, just fall silent and observe. Do not coach them, do not prompt them, and definitely do not demand an apology. Simply allow them the space for their reaction. It is precisely in this pause that their true essence will be revealed. Their reaction is your answer. So, what kind of response will you see? In 99% of cases, the narcissist will fail this test spectacularly. They will immediately launch into defense mode, utilizing a full arsenal of manipulative techniques. First up is denial. That never happened, or you're just imagining things. Second is gaslighting. They will try to convince you that your memory is faulty, that you're overreacting, or that you actually provoke them. Third, the counterattack, or what we call blame shifting. They'll immediately pivot with a phrase like, but what about that thing you did last month? They will dig up some old mistake of yours to completely invalidate your current claims. They will do absolutely anything to avoid looking into the mirror you've held up to them. Let me give you a real-life example. A woman asked her partner to swing by the dry cleaner and pick up her dress before a big event. He completely forgot. When she calmly pointed this out, instead of getting a simple, "Oops, sorry, honey, that totally slipped my mind, let's figure out a plan B right now," she was hit with an immediate torrent of accusations. He responded, "Why couldn't you have gotten it yourself? You expect way too much of me. I wouldn't have forgotten if you reminded me every 5 minutes. And anyway, it's just a dress. Why are you making such a huge deal out of this?" Ultimately, she not only ended up without her dress, but she was made to feel guilty. Guilty for asking him for a favor in the first place, and guilty for even daring to be upset about it. That, right there, is a textbook case of failing the apology test. But what would the healthy reaction even look like? A healthy, empathetic person, when they make a mistake, feels genuine remorse, not because they got caught, but because they caused real pain to another person. Their reaction would be fundamentally different. They would say, "Please, forgive me. I understand I let you down and I am truly sorry. This is entirely my fault. Let's figure out how we can fix this right now." Notice the key elements here. Acknowledgement of guilt, expressing sympathy for your feelings, and a willingness to immediately fix the situation. This is the reaction of a truly mature adult, capable of self-reflection and taking responsibility. A narcissist is simply and fundamentally incapable of this kind of reaction. Now let's move on to the second test. This one is even more subtle, yet equally revealing. We'll call it the shared joy test. The premise is simple. Narcissists cannot stand the success of others. Any achievement you make, any happiness you feel, is perceived by them not as a reason to celebrate with you, but rather as a personal slight. Why? Because in their world, there is only one center of the universe, and that is them. Your success steals attention away, shifting the focus of their own grandiose persona. This fundamentally undermines their sense of exceptionalism. If you shine too brightly, they believe your light is actively dimming theirs. They cannot afford to be second place. They must be the only one. What lies behind this phenomenon is what psychologists call narcissistic envy. This isn't your average, everyday envy, the kind where someone thinks, "I wish I had that too." Narcissistic envy is a destructive force. It essentially tells them, "I want you to lose this precisely because I don't have it." They aren't interested in achieving the same success. Their primary goal is to strip you of yours. That's why when you share good news with them, their first instinctive reaction is to immediately devalue, belittle, or outright ignore your excitement. It's an automatic defense mechanism for their fragile ego. They simply cannot bring themselves to say, "I'm genuinely happy for you," because doing so makes them feel like they've lost some invisible high-stakes competition. Performing this test is incredibly easy. Wait until something genuinely good happens in your life. Maybe you get a promotion at work, win a contest, achieve recognition for a hobby, or hit some important personal goal. Choose something that really matters to you personally. Then find a quiet moment and share the news with the suspected narcissist. Announce it with all the enthusiasm and excitement that the event warrants. Say something like, "Guess what? I got promoted today. I'm absolutely thrilled." And once again, just like the first test, simply watch their reaction. The first few seconds are the most critical. You might catch a fleeting flicker of irritation or envy on their face before they manage to pull on their social mask. So, what kind of response are you most likely to get? The number one reaction is instantly pivoting the conversation back to themselves. It usually sounds something like, "Oh, that's great, but you know what I did today?" Your news is simply used as a springboard to refocus the conversation onto them and their, obviously superior, achievements. The second option is passive aggression and outright minimization, often disguised as genuine concern or objectivity. For example, a promotion? Just remember that comes with way more responsibility. You'll probably be exhausted all the time. Or, did they even give you a decent raise? Probably not, right? They will always find a way to put a negative spin on your good news. The third common reaction is complete dismissal. They might simply nod, change the subject entirely, and act as if you said something utterly insignificant. Let me give you an example. Imagine a guy excitedly telling his partner that his project was named the best in the company and he got a huge bonus. He's naturally expecting support and shared excitement. But what does she say back? "Oh, I see. Is that the project you spend every weekend glued to while I was stuck here dealing with the house by myself? Well, at least they finally paid you some money for it. I guess that's something." Do you see how his massive accomplishment was instantly twisted and used as a hook for a confrontation? His excitement was completely annihilated. He didn't get an ounce of support. Instead, he ended up feeling guilty. This is a textbook failure of the shared joy test, a perfect demonstration of pure self-centeredness and a total lack of empathy. Now, how would a healthy, loving partner typically react? Their face would instantly light up with a genuine smile. They'd hug you and say something like, "That is incredible! Congratulations! I'm so proud of you. You absolutely deserve this. You worked so hard. Tell me everything. What exactly happened?" A healthy partner views your success as their success, a shared victory. They don't feel threatened at all. Instead, they feel genuine pride and happiness for you. They will actively ask questions and show keen interest because your feelings and accomplishments truly matter to them. This contrast between authentic joy and narcissistic devaluation is immense. It is a clear and unmistakable indicator of the kind of person you are truly dealing with. We now arrive at the third and perhaps the most complex and critical challenge. This is the test of respect for personal boundaries. For a narcissist, the very concept of personal boundaries simply does not exist. In their worldview, you are merely an extension of them, a resource, and a resource cannot have its own desires, its own opinions, or its own private space. Any attempt you make to set a boundary is immediately perceived as rebellion, a personal insult, and a threat to their total control. Boundaries are what separate you from them, and for the narcissist, this separation is unbearable. They must penetrate everywhere, control everything, and know everything. Your no is a challenge, and they will answer that challenge with war. Why are boundaries so crucial? Because they fundamentally define where you end and where the other person begins. This is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship built on mutual respect. When you assert, "I don't like it when you raise your voice at me," or "Please stop reading my private messages," you aren't launching an attack. You are merely safeguarding your psychological space. To a narcissist, however, this translates into, "You have no right to restrict me." They don't register your need for safety or respect. They only see a direct challenge to their power. They will subsequently do everything in their power to tear those boundaries down, determined to prove that they, and only they, dictate what is acceptable and what isn't in your relationship. This test demands courage, but it is absolutely crucial for your own well-being. Pick just one boundary, one that is clear, reasonable, and that this person consistently violates. You don't need to start with something massive or global. Start small. For example, please stop giving me unsolicited advice about my job, or I need you to call before you come over. State your request as calmly, politely, and firmly as possible. Use I statements. Don't say, "You always do this." Instead, use phrases like, "I feel uncomfortable when..." And once you have communicated your boundary, prepare yourself for the reaction. It will be immediate and most likely quite volatile. A narcissist's reaction to boundaries can vary, but the underlying goal is always the same: to make you feel terrible for even making the request. The most common response is narcissistic rage. They might start screaming, accuse you of being selfish, or claim you don't love or appreciate them. The objective is simply to intimidate you into backing down. Another common tactic is playing the victim. They'll use lines like, "I've done everything for you and this is how you repay me. How could you be so ungrateful?" They will aggressively guilt-trip you until you feel like a terrible person and retract your boundaries. A third method is complete ignoring or stonewalling. They will pretend they didn't hear you, and the very next time they will demonstrably violate your boundary, sending a clear message about who is in charge. Consider this example. A woman asks her husband, "Honey, I need us to agree not to discuss our financial issues with your mother. That's our private business." This seems like a perfectly reasonable request. But her narcissistic husband explodes. "You are trying to turn me against my mother. She just wants to help. You've always been selfish and only thought about yourself." The very next day, he calls his mother and, in excruciating detail, recounts not only their financial troubles, but also the entire conversation about boundaries, successfully painting his wife as the villain. In doing this, he not only violated the boundary, but he also punished her for the very attempt to establish it. Unlike a narcissist, a psychologically healthy person will respond to your request respectfully, even if they don't fully understand it or don't particularly like it. They might be surprised, and they might ask clarifying questions just to get a better grasp of where you are coming from. For instance, they might say, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize that bothered you. Could you explain what makes you feel that way?" Ultimately, however, they will say something like, "Okay, I hear you. I'll make an effort to stop doing that since it's clearly important to you." They respect your boundaries and your feelings. They don't take it as a personal attack. Instead, they see it as an act of trust, a meaningful step toward building a more honest and genuinely healthy relationship. These three essential tests, the ability to apologize, sharing joy, and respecting boundaries, act as the foundational pillars of any healthy relationship. A narcissist fails every single one of them because they fundamentally lack the core components of a healthy self: accountability, empathy, and respect for others. They cannot apologize because doing so would shatter their illusion of perfection. They cannot genuinely celebrate your successes because your achievement is perceived as a direct threat to their own grandiosity. And finally, they cannot respect your boundaries because in their world you are merely an extension of themselves, their property. Observe any individual through the prism of these three tests, and the picture you receive will be exceptionally clear and perhaps terrifying. It's crucial to understand that these tests aren't a tool for clinical diagnosis. We are not medical professionals, but they are an incredibly powerful tool for your personal safety and well-being. If someone systematically fails all three of these assessments, that is a massive red flag, signaling unequivocally that you are caught in a toxic, destructive relationship. It's a clear signal that it's time to prioritize your own well-being and perhaps seek professional help to navigate your way out of that situation. Protecting your mental health isn't selfish, it is a fundamental necessity. Do not ignore these signs. Your future self will thank you for it. So let's quickly recap. The three challenges a narcissist simply cannot pass are their inability to sincerely apologize or take genuine responsibility. their utter intolerance for other people's success or happiness, and their complete disregard for personal boundaries. These aren't just isolated character traits. This is the entire system the narcissist lives in, a world that revolves exclusively around their ego. Seeing this system in action is how you strip the narcissist of their main power, the mask of normalcy. Thank you for sticking with this important video all the way to the end. If you recognize your own experience in these descriptions, please know that you are not alone. Please take a moment to hit the like button so this vital information can reach others who desperately need it. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, as we have many more essential topics coming soon. Now for my main question to you: which of these 3 specific challenges have you personally encountered in your life? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could be exactly what someone else needs to hear.